Hello there, welcome to another Q&A with myself. My name is Clément Young and I'm here to answer your questions. Today, the question is, how can my partner and I have better sex? Wow, what a great question. So let me start with this. Why is it so hard or so difficult to achieve great sex? Because it's pretty rare. It is until you find someone who understands it and maybe can teach you, or you teach them, and then you can have that amazing sex over and over. But I would say in terms of individual unique partners, it can be very difficult to find someone who you're willing or open to or can provide that space for great sex. So why? Well, I think three things. One, we're just not that comfortable in our own skin, okay? We have a very clear understanding of our imperfections, and we do not like the idea of being rejected because of them. We don't want to be reminded of them. We don't want them to be visible. So I think that really draws our focus and attention from the act of having sex, which is where it should be. And it pulls it into that realm of negativity and worry and stress, which impedes our performance, and our ability to be there for a partner. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that we have these false ideas about what we should do when we're in the bed with someone, when we're making love with someone. And a lot of that's kind of cultural, right? We learn it from things like the porn industry. The porn industry is just this exaggerated, over-the-top visual experience. So everything is just very obvious and very exaggerated, like I said. And that's not really how you're supposed to connect with someone when it comes to making love. It's a very spiritual practice, and you should treat it that way. And I'm going to come back to that whole spiritual concept as I explain this further, because if you treat sex as a physical thing, you're only going to get the physical benefits. If you want that mind-blowing, life-changing experience when you're having sex, then you have to treat it as such. You have to treat it as a spiritual thing. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is that there's a taboo around sex, which means that we don't feel comfortable talking about it, not even with each other. Definitely not in public, but I think that's what's holding us back. I think there's nothing to be ashamed of and there's nothing to be scared of. The only thing that can happen if you're willing to open up and communicate about it are good things, right? Now, let's talk about the pillars of great sex. If you can get these three things that I'm about to say right, or if you can work on these three things, you're already well on your way, like so much more than anything else you could think of. Okay, so here they are. Intention, trust, and vulnerability. Simple, right? It sounds pretty straightforward. Intention. What do I mean by intention? Okay, think about it like this. Before you make love, what are you trying to achieve? What's your goal? It doesn't have to be a conscious thing. It's probably a subconscious thing. Maybe you wake up in the middle of the night and you're horny and you just start to kiss and that's it, it begins. If you go into having sex thinking about, well, I want to pleasure myself, or thinking I want to get off, or I want to pass the time, or I'm stressed and I need to feel better, that isn't going to lead to mind-blowing sex. That's just going to lead to a release and then back to normal life. And it's even in many cases not pleasurable, especially for the woman, right? And I'm going to talk about this in a second, but for the lady, that's not something that's going to have any kind of pleasure associated with it. Intention is super important. And if your intention is, I'm going to give this woman, I'm going to give this man, I'm going to give my partner, whoever they are, whatever gender they are, I'm going to give my partner the best possible experience, the most mind-blowing spiritual opening that I've ever been able to give, then I think that that's a great place to start, because all those doors, all those opportunities, all of that potential suddenly becomes possible. You're not limiting yourself. So it has to be about the other person. Your intention is to serve and provide a space and to guide and to pleasure the other person. That's one of the major foundations of having amazing sex, okay? Then the next two are trust and vulnerability. They come intertwined. They're very, very much the same, but they're slightly different. Vulnerability comes from trust. If you're willing to be vulnerable and open and take your guard down, so that you can reveal yourself for who you really are, you don't have to hide anything. that comes from having a trust with that partner. And the trust is, well, we can talk about that in another episode. We've got episodes about that, right, on the podcast. Building trust takes time. It takes willingness. It takes a commitment from both people. But if you can establish that, and if you can work on that, then you can have more vulnerability. And the vulnerability is really interesting, because vulnerability is like being able to just experience whatever it is that's happening to you, whether it's good or bad or questionable or just like you don't understand it. Vulnerability is like allowing someone else to see exactly who you are and what's happening inside of you as it is, without any filters, right? Without any kind of like manipulation. It's the real version of you in any given moment. So that's basically what vulnerability is. So though intention, trust, and vulnerability, work on those things and you're already like 80% of the way. I'm not even joking. That's really what it is, okay? Difficult, yes, can be very difficult. If you are a guarded person, if you're not really into this kind of thing, you know, if you don't talk about sex, if you don't feel comfortable with it, if there's things that you feel ashamed of about yourself, if you feel those things, it's difficult. But work on it, work towards that, and then you'll have amazing, not just in sex, but in life in general. I mean, come on. If you can be vulnerable in life at the right times, you're gonna win no matter what, and you're gonna help a lot of people around you. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's go through some really important key steps, key tips that I think are going to help you significantly. We can't talk about all of them because we don't have enough time in this Q&A, but here they are. Number one, take it slow. Oh, you've heard this so many times, but maybe you just haven't actually taken action. Okay, maybe you've not perfected it yet. Physiologically, right, the woman, the female needs 30 minutes or more to warm up their body to be receiving you or a man, right? I'm talking to a man right now in this particular moment. But that just goes to show how important it is to actually take your time. The more you try to speed that process up, the more you try to kind of bypass that, the less you're going to actually get in terms of those results that you're looking for, those amazing, mind-blowing sex results. So don't bypass that. Don't do it. Remember that when you start to make love, the only way you're going to get to that place of just being in ecstasy and having, you know, so much to talk about after, about, whoa, that was amazing, wasn't it? That was great. How did that happen? Is by really taking it slow at the beginning. So lots of foreplay, maybe some dirty talk, maybe lots of cuddling and kissing and just being super present, okay? That's going to get you to the end result. That's going to get you to the mind-blowing experience. If you can look into the soul of your partner, right? This sounds woo-woo. The way that it was explained to me, I had someone who really clarified it for me. I didn't have the words to use, but when they said it, it made complete sense. She said that intimacy is into me you see. Intimacy, into me you see, right? Such a good play on words. The way that you see into someone is through the eyes. If you can maintain eye contact, you have a spiritual connection building up. And it has worked amazing for me. It has had significant results for me. Without that, you lose a huge part of the whole experience. So you have to be able to maintain eye contact. And maintaining eye contact, maybe it's not that easy to begin with, but the more you work on it, the better you're going to get at it. And the more you experience it, the more you realize how important and powerful it actually is. So constant eye contact is really important. And words are fine, but actually I think it's better to communicate with your eyes and maybe not focus too much on the verbal spoken communication. And also really when you're able to do that, you can feel the energy from them. You can feel their body more. All right, so the next one is to practice presence. It's kind of like a meditation. It's actually the best meditation you can do because it's super fun and it's super thrilling and rewarding. So much more tangibly than just sitting with your legs crossed in a room and closing your eyes or focusing on something. You're actually feeling a lot of physical pleasure by doing this sexual meditation, let's say. So if you can stay present, you're going to open up all of these new pathways to feeling things that you haven't felt before, that you've maybe missed because your presence wasn't there and you didn't notice them. So presence is really key. It also gives you the ability to fall into a rhythm. So like when you put these together, eye contact, being present, you can actually fall into the rhythm of your partner and your partner can fall into rhythm. You can meet in the middle and you can have a rhythm. And when that rhythm matches, fireworks, because you can feel where you need to go with the next steps. You can feel like what the next actions are, Give it a shot and see what happens. Pretty confident you're gonna get some amazing results. Okay, the last thing I wanna talk about is breathing. Breathing is so important. You hear that all the time now because breathing has become like a trending topic. People are understanding that the thing that we do the most in life, right? We need air to survive more than we need water or food, is something that we haven't actually mastered, most of us. Our breaths are usually short and shallow. Like when I'm talking right now, my breaths are short and shallow because I can't do deep breaths when I'm speaking. But if I was to do that, I can immediately feel the benefits of it. My body feels much more relaxed, feels much more open. I feel like almost like a euphoric sensation of endorphins. And if I do it enough, it stimulates my body. And if you do that when you're making love, when you're having sex, it's a game changer. I was doing the other things that I've mentioned here without the breathing. And then when I figured out the breathing on top of that, it just changed everything for me. Not only that, but those deep, intentional, long breaths, if you can actually breathe your partner's breath, that sounds kind of disgusting maybe to you, but trust me, it's not. And especially if you've got good hygiene, it's totally fine. What happens is when you do that, you synchronize your bodies. Combined with the eye contact and the presence and the breathing and all of the things that I've mentioned, if you focus on these things, if you practice these things, you're gonna have such amazing sex, honestly. So I'm excited for you. Please do leave a comment, tell us how it goes, and I hope this has been very helpful to you. These are the foundations. There's a lot more that we can discuss, and we will. But for now, just take that as like the most fundamental major steps towards having better sex with your partner. Hope that helped. See you on the next one. Take care.